Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Allbaugh, along with our engineer and producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 12 noon. Welcome in on a Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Sun is out in downtown Madison here at the world headquarters on State Street. Glad to have you along for a Tuesday. Mr. Mathers, Mr. Zommers, how are you?
I have not recently gotten married or changed my name, but I'm doing well. You know, despite still catching up with daylight savings time.
You and me both. Mm-hmm. It has an effect. It has an effect on our bodies.
It does. And just trying to fall asleep at the right time yesterday. You know, it's an hour. I don't know. I don't know. Even though I know it's spring ahead, I always get confused.
Do you really? Yeah.
I feel really stupid, but I always get confused.
No, nothing to feel stupid about. Our bodies all adjust to things differently. Well, look, a big show today. Really happy to have our guest with us today at 12:30. The one, the only Luke Mathers. You know him, you love him. Tuesday Tangents with Lukester. Talk a little news, talk a little sports. We'll talk about my alma mater, UW Platteville, being upset by Wisconsin Lutheran College in the NCAA Division III tournament. Also talk a little Wisconsin basketball. They're getting ready for the Big Ten tournament this year and much, much more. Maybe what's grinding Luke's gears as well at 12:30. Just after 1 o'clock, a What's Worse edition, bumper stickers and social media. We'll explain and take your phone calls then. And then very excited, very honored to have Wisconsin's former Lieutenant Governor, Mandela Barnes, will join us. He has a new project where he is speaking with Wisconsin folks who lost their jobs due to the Elon Musk Trump Doge or doggy cuts. And you know, we talk about this and make a little fun of it, but for a lot of people, this is a real deal, particularly people in Wisconsin. So the former lieutenant governor is going to be here to kind of help tell their stories, or at least a couple of them. And also, and perhaps even more importantly, what that means to all Wisconsinites in terms of the services that are no longer going to be available. So,
and these aren't just, he's not like seeking out random people in high towers and whatever. Right. These are average people. Like this first person he interviewed is somebody that he runs with.
And not everybody knows this. He is a big runner, like a marathon type runner. And here's a hitherto unknown fact. You know, my sister and brother-in-law live in Eau Claire, and I think it was a couple of, maybe when he was running for U.S. Senate.
Different kind of running.
Different kind of political running. He also ran in the Eau Claire Marathon and ran right by my sister's house. How about that? And apparently he's a very, very good runner.
Seems to be, yeah.
He's all around great American, and so we'll talk to him coming up at 1:30 this afternoon. So a very full show indeed. Your phone calls as well, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Zommers, do you ever listen to the Matt Nair on Air program?
I do. I didn't today, but...
Well, of course you did. Because I was on it, you understand? See, he listens except when I'm on it.
It can only take so much time in one day. No, I'm kidding.
That's well said. A lot of people feel that way. No, Jane Matnair, the wonderful and talented, and Greg Bach, the wonderful and talented, they have the Matt Nair on Air program, and it comes on every morning before us from 10 until noon, and I hope people listen to it because you always learn something, at least I do, and you also get a few laughs, which is good and healthy as well. And let me tell you, if you're looking for a traveling partner, if you want to travel somewhere, and you say, well, I'm all alone, or my spouse doesn't want to go, dial up Jane Matnair. Because as it turns out, she's a wonderful traveling companion. She and I took a week and traveled around Wisconsin together and did our shows. And she's a wonderful person. People don't know this. She's a fantastic singer. We sang musical numbers all across Wisconsin.
So I've heard.
Yes.
Mostly from Mostly from Book of Mormon.
Yes, exactly. So that was a lot of fun. So anyway, I was on her program this morning with she and Greg. We talked a lot about stuff. And one of the big stories that we talked about this morning, I thought we'd lead off today, this from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Democrat Rebecca Cook launches bid to unseat Derek Van Orden in Wisconsin battleground seat. Now, this is fascinating to me, absolutely fascinating, because for those that aren't familiar, Wisconsin's 3rd congressional district is in the western part of Wisconsin. It goes just south of Rice Lake in Barron County, and it runs all along the Mississippi right down to the Wisconsin-Illinois border in the southwest corner of the state. And then it makes little juts out. The furthest it juts over, there's a little tail that goes over. It was gerrymandered years ago into Stevens Point. And then it goes back into the western part of the state. So that's kind of the rough geographical area of the state. I grew up in the 3rd congressional district in Richland Center, still spend a lot of time back there. My sister, as aforementioned, lives in Eau Claire, one of the largest city in the 3rd congressional district. So that's a cool area as well. And so I know it pretty well. I ran twice for state assembly in the 3rd congressional district and lost twice. And I've run assembly races and state senate races and won those for other people. And then ran in 2004, helped run my former boss Dale Schultz's run for 3rd district congressman in the 3rd district as well. So I have a little experience in this. Rebecca Cook has run twice for this seat, and as pointed out in this story in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel today, last time around in November, did pretty well. Lost by about 2.7 percentage points. And she actually did better, and this is a kudos to her, she did better in the 3rd congressional district than either Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket or Tammy Baldwin, United States Senator Tammy Baldwin, who, of course, won re-election across the state, but she actually lost, Tammy did, the 3rd congressional district. So here in this story, it says Cook gained about 9,000 more raw votes in the district than former vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris, who lost in the 3rd to Trump by 7.4 percentage points. And Cook got about 5,000 more votes than Tammy Baldwin, who lost the region to Eric Hovde by 4, although she won statewide. So I think she's a good candidate in some ways if you just look at the raw numbers. I find it interesting that we're already, we're 3 months into 2025 here. The election isn't until 2026. I understand that you want to get out there. What I think part of this is about, having run congressional campaigns, is she's trying to scare away other Democrats. So to get rid of the competition and the primary, because of course last time around she had a very competitive, contentious primary with State Representative Katrina Shanklin, who was endorsed by 2nd District Democratic Congressman Mark Pocan, who is a great guy, and I think he does a great job. Part of the challenge here is it was a very contentious primary. Shanklin kind of thought she had it in the bag. She didn't. Cook ran a great primary, beat her. Well, then the Democrats were divided and never really healed after that. And then we get into the general with this guy, Derek Van Orden, who has no, in my opinion, business being a United States congressman. And Cook kind of ran this milquetoast campaign. I want to be liked by everybody, but not really stand for anything kind of campaign, which was weird to me, to use the Tim Walz word. We tried to get Cook on this, not just this program, but on this network. And she had, remember back in grade school, with a Stranger Danger, and you had Patch the Pony, and Patch the Pony said, "Nay, nay, from strangers, stay away." Remember, did you have that growing up?
Stranger Danger, yes. Patch the Pony, no.
That's how old. Let me know if you remember Patch the Pony, because they used to teach us, "Nay, nay, from strangers, stay away." And that's kind of how Rebecca Cook was with civic media. "Nay, nay, from civic media, stay," because she didn't want to be labeled as I guess too left, which I don't think I'm left. But for whatever reason, she said, "I don't want to do civic media," and that's fine. That's fine. People have a right to do that. But I think that she made a mistake in being insular, and this is the concern I hear from Democrats at the grassroots level county Democrats in the 3rd district that Rebecca Cook doesn't really consult or make deep relationships with local party officials that much, and it might be nice if she kind of included them rather than running kind of this campaign from wherever she's running it from. And also, and that's great, she's a waitress, that's fantastic. But I've run, as I said, campaigns in the 3rd congressional district. You can't keep running 3 times in a row for Congress on a waitress's salary or a server's salary.
That's rough.
So I mean, either A, her family has money to help her, and that's great, just say it. Or she's taking, a lot of outside money, which again, fine, just say it. So I feel like there are probably other people. You got State Senator Brad Pfaff in La Crosse. I don't know that he's going to make another run at it, but he's not ruling it out. But I think there are other people out there who are leaders in the 3rd congressional district who may take a look at this. So I would just say, welcome, Rebecca Cook. Thanks for taking another run at this. There needs to be somebody out there calling Derek Van Orden to task. But I think that there may be other people that emerge. So we'll see. Let's talk about Derek Van Orden for a second. This is a guy who, of course, tried to get a loaded gun, as Jane, I forgot it was loaded. Jane reminded me this morning, tried to get a loaded gun on a plane in Iowa. He verbally assaulted a teenage girl at a library in his adopted hometown of Prairie du Chien. And then he verbally assaulted teenage pages at the U.S. Capitol after having a few too many beers. It's important to remember that he does not deny any of these things. He was also at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, yucking it up with the insurrectionists. More importantly, in my opinion, he supports Donald Trump pardoning January 6th insurrectionists who assaulted law enforcement officers. So whoever the Democrats nominate, I will support that person. But I think it's important for Democrats, in my opinion, being an independent, focus on the issues that matter to people in the 3rd congressional district. We heard this from people in Altoona that showed up at the Bernie event this weekend. Paying the bills, keeping the lights on. Do I buy eyeglasses for myself or my kids? Get veterans to come out and support the Democratic candidate and have veterans call out Derek Van Orden for supporting Trump's pardon of insurrectionists who attacked police officers. Back with more after this is the Todd Allbaugh Show right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Was Christine talking about today's show or yesterday?
I don't know. That text came in less than 5 minutes after we started the show.
All right, well. Christine, look, I mean, yes, it's serious, but we were talking about serious stuff last summer and fall, trying to get people to support Vice President Harris, and that didn't work out. So, I mean, we can't come on the air, in my opinion, every day and just be doom and gloom. We have to have some way to laugh and let the energy out a little bit, because people don't want to tune in every day and just hear how terrible life is, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I'm getting a call from potential spam. Should I
put it on the air?
Well, I answered and I held it up to the phone and they hung up without saying anything.
Just minutes. Call 608-231-8000 and sign up today. Madison Computer Works. Computers that work for you.
I'm planning our family vacation and need a pet sitter.
We use a house sitter from Hotel K Pet Sitting. You know, freebellyrubs.com.
Free belly rubs?
Yeah, they're local, dependable, and totally spoil our pets. When we get home, our house is just as it was when we left, and our dogs are happy. And the daily messages with pictures really gives us peace of mind while we're away. For house sitting, cat sitting, and dog walks, it's Hotel K Pet Sitting. Reserve now at freebellyrubs.com. freebellyrubs.com.
At Chance Design Build, we provide remodeling done well with love. Our commitments extend beyond our workplace and your home to support our community. We judge people by the content.
having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along. 21 past the hour of 12 noon on Tuesday, March 11th. Good old Luke Mather is going to be here at the bottom of the hour, Tuesday Tangents with Luke. Then What's Worse at the top of hour 2, followed by a little interview, a great interview, hopefully, if I do my part right, with former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. Going to be here talking about the impact of DOJ cuts on Wisconsinites and how it affects services here in Wisconsin. Right now, talking about Rebecca Cook announcing a third run for Congress in the 3rd Congressional District for the Democratic Party on the western side of Wisconsin. Before we get back to that, as Matt Flynn likes to say, all callers what does he say? All opinions, what is it? All callers welcome, all opinions taken, or something like that.
Or no topic is off limits.
That's right. No topic is off limits. No topic. I love that. So, look, we read the good, the bad, the ugly. Here's Christine from Slinger, from WAUK. We always appreciate that. Todd, she says, quote, "None of this is funny, Todd. You would serve us better if you took this nightmare seriously. Good show, but kind of naive about the horror story going on," unquote. Look, I appreciate the comment, Christine. That's why we say that's why the moniker of the show is pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Because I just feel, maybe I'm wrong about this, I feel, based on what people tell me as I travel around the state, they say, Todd, I can't tune in every day and just hear that the world's coming to an end because it depresses me and there's nothing I can do about it. So that's why we try to bring some news, but we also try to lighten it up a little bit and give folks a break. I just think it's good mental health. I mean, we spent the better part of last summer and fall trying to warn people, bringing them news, information, facts, using words like authoritarian, dictator, trying to say that our democracy may not survive. And there were people on both the Republican and Democratic side who didn't go along with that and didn't believe it. And that put us where we're at today politically. So I appreciate the fact that you want to take it seriously. And we do. That's why we take the new, we're talking about this, what's happening in the 3rd Congressional District. But if I think we're just doom and gloom all the time, I just don't think that's what people want to hear every day. I don't know. Am I wrong, Zommers? Tell me if I'm wrong.
I don't think so. And I think it makes it harder to get new people to want to listen and find out what's going on if it's only negative things. Because I know before I started working here, I heard so much negative news. I was like, that's it. I'm just not reading it or listening to it. And so I feel like hitting the balance is hard.
It is. But I appreciate the comments, Christine, and I appreciate you listening to us. So, I mean, the reality, if we want to be completely serious just for a second, the horror of it, and we're talking about Rebecca Cook running for 3rd District Congress in 2026. We don't know for sure there's going to be elections in 2026. If you want me to be blunt about it, I hope there are. I think right now the anticipation is we probably will have that. But we're not even 2 months into the Donald Trump term 2.0. I am not convinced that if polls show that Republicans will lose both houses of Congress, that Trump won't try to find a way to prevent that from happening. And people say, oh, Todd, Congress will never let that happen. You have the courts that will stop that. Really? Really? We're not even 2 months into it. How's that worked out so far? Tell me the number of the number of Republicans who have stood up to Trump and said, oh, no, we can't do that. We'll sacrifice our political careers to stand up against that.
I have too many fingers for that number.
Right. So anyway, I mean, but I don't want to come on the air and just talk like that every day because I see hope in people all across Wisconsin. I see hope in our communities. I see hope in friends and neighbors helping each other out regardless of political affiliation every day. And so I think we have to bring those stories as well. And yes, we have to have a little fun. We have to, I just think it's good for our mental health. But I appreciate the call or the text. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Mark in Perdisac calling in. Mark, if you can make it quick, what say you, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, maybe some of these Republicans should start getting concerned that we actually do have elections then, because what happens, because the way they've got America armed these days, that are any of us going to be safe going any place? That it's how violent could the outcome be if they say Trump says, well, I'm just going to cancel elections this time around, and I don't put any guarantees that people are going to take that just lying down. I mean, that because Republicans need to start speaking out for democracy itself, for small d democracy itself. If they don't believe in that right now, they might as well just resign and go back home and live off their dividends and their millions of dollars that they're going to scrape out of the economy after Trump tries to and must try to get rid of Social Security and Medicare itself, because apparently that's their dream mission right now. Musk is calling them both Ponzi schemes now. I mean, it is just here a guy who's once his Canadian citizen gets canceled, they should just say, well, since that got canceled, there must be something wrong with him, so his American citizenship should be denied now, and ship his ass back to South Africa.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to that, by the way. We haven't even got Donald Trump this morning on his Truth Social going to put another 25% in tariffs now on our friends up in Canada, making it a 50% tariff on many goods, and says, this is real, that the only way to prevent this is for Canada to become the 51st state. Now, look, I get it. It's not real, but it is the sitting president of the United States tantamount to declaring war on Canada. Because if you say the only way to avoid this is to become the 51st state, that means that you allow us to take you over. And if you don't do it by diplomacy, we're going to send out the Marines to attack Quebec? I mean, that's... And in Chippewa Falls says, go Rebecca Cook, we love her. And Democrats did vote against an authoritarian. Republicans are to blame. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. And with all due respect, you're by and large correct. But there is a significant number of progressive Democrats who sat the election out. Partly over Palestine, partly over Gaza. It's the lesser of two evils. I just can't bring myself in good conscience to vote for Kamala Harris. Trump won't be that bad. So you're right. It was people on both sides of the political spectrum that either voted for Trump or voted for someone else or sat it out that got us to where we're at today. Luke Mathers on the other side is Todd Allbaugh Show on Civic Media.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
Grain commodities are holding firm for now in Chicago, but there are some questions around meat and dairy products during today's tariff status. I'm Stephanie Hoff along with you on a Tuesday. This is the Midwest Farm Report. Market advisor John Heinberg joins us from Total Farm Marketing. He gives us a status report on what tariffs are in place and who it's going to impact the most.
Meat products, we've got to see how that kind of plays out in terms of the demand with those Chinese tariffs that actually got enacted yesterday. So they went in place yesterday as they announced those last week. So there's still going to be a little bit of shakeup in terms of we got to see how that affects the demand side of things in that regard. I still think one of the biggest areas, though, that's seeing some of this impact is that dairy market, though, with those dairy exports. We just continue to see cheese prices erode, and that just continues to put heavy pressure on that milk market, unfortunately, for those producers right now.
As he said, grain markets have found some footing today, but dairy continues to see downward action. John Heinberg along with us, a market advisor with Total Farm Marketing out of West Bend. We'll take a look at your midday market prices next.
There goes Pam Yankee across Wisconsin in her Suburban truck. Thanks to Equity Livestock Cooperative, marketing your livestock, financing your operation, and supporting the livestock community since 1922. And to Cleary Building Corp. Cleary Building Corp. Built with pride before the shamrock is applied. Explore clearybuilding.com today. Keep up with Pam at MidwestFarmReport.com and on Facebook and Instagram.
In our world of agriculture, weather conditions rule our workday. The Midwest Farm Report and the National Weather Service are recruiting citizen scientists to help keep an eye on Mother Nature. You can help by taking real-time weather observations and alerting the National Weather Service about severe weather occurring where you are. Everyday people such as yourself play a vital role in protecting lives and property. To find out how you can become a citizen scientist, visit wisconsinweatherwatchers.org.
Before the break, we talked about the ever-evolving tariff situation and the impact that has on the marketplace. What I haven't mentioned yet, the World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates Report is out now. So take these market numbers with a grain of salt. The WASDE report can shake things up into the afternoon. From Chicago, cash corn is up 4.5 cents at 4.76.5. December new crop corn up 1 3/4 at 4.56 3/4. Cash soybeans are up 2 3/4 cents at 10.16 3/4. November new crop beans up 1 3/4 at 10.19.5. The April Class 3 milk contract is trading up 13 cents at 17.29 a hundredweight. The May, June, and July contracts are all trading lower. The May Class 3 milk contract down 3 cents at
Luke, ladies and gentlemen on the stream, he's entered the studio. Elvis is in the building.
Hoff.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear
I thought we forgot to pay our bills.
Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
The lights went out in Georgia.
Yesterday, with highs flirting with 50. We've got a crisp north breeze, but we're sitting pretty under
How
plenty
about
of
that?
sunshine. Getting warmer tomorrow, we'll flirt with 60
All right, we'll
degrees,
spend just a couple minutes in this third district race. I want to put these
to the
comments that
mid-70s
James
on
Kelly has here
Friday.
on.
I'm meteorologist
So we'll
Brittany
chat about
Lau.
that.
Right now,
and then we can go
44
to
degrees.
I texted. I texted. I said, hey, you want James? If you're watching, come on, call in.
Clean. Take it off your to-do list. With over 20 years of meticulous cleaning experience, they make your home sparkle without the hassle. Call 920-932-0000 today. Why wait?
Nothing you could say could tear me away from my dog. My dog is shallow, y'all. Hi, I'm Smokey Robinson. When you adopt a shelter pet, you not only bring joy and love into your home, you also give another animal a
Well,
chance
Ardith,
to experience
Ardith,
that
you're
special
watching on
bond.
the live stream on Facebook. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Thanks very much. I'm not sure that. I mean, I think again, big money comes from both sides. I don't think you can win these days if you don't take it. I don't think there's anything illicit about Rebecca Cook's money where it came from, but I don't think it came from right-wing groups. No, it came from moderate Democratic groups, and yes, those exist.
20 seconds.
Oddly enough. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 minutes now past the hour of 12 noon on a Tuesday, March 11th. Zommers on the board. We're joined on a Tuesday once again. If it's Tuesday, it's Luke Mathers. You know him, you love him, the Lukester. How are you, Luke?
I'm doing well, Todd. How are you doing?
Fantastic. The sun's out.
The sun is out. Not as warm as yesterday.
No.
We're not going to set any records across the state of Wisconsin today, but it's a nice spring day.
I took a 2-hour walk last night.
Yeah?
How about my hips are a
And you
little
just
sore.
say you don't have time for a dog. Come on. You could have had a little furry friend join you for that.
It was
2-hour
mental
walk.
health is what it was.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was good.
We explored a new Madison City Park yesterday.
Did you really?
With the dogs. Yeah. Yeah. It
That's
was still a little soggy because, still some of the snow
yeah.
melt and stuff. So we had to be
Now-
careful with the muddy paws. But
Are you and your wife? Are you the kind? All right. Well, you answer the question. Are you folks the kind of folks that put little dog booties
No,
on
no,
them?
no,
All right.
Well, if it's really bad in the winter, yes, we have a pair. We didn't need them. It was such a
Okay.
mild winter this past year, so Aurora does not have a pair, but Remy does have. He
Oh.
hates them, but he
I'm
has
sure
a
he
pair.
does.
Yeah,
All right.
it's important when there's a lot of salt and ice and all that stuff. But
Lots to get to today. A couple of phone callers. We'll get to them in just a minute. But first, and this is fantastic because number one, the wonderful James Kelly, our news bureau chief up there in northwestern Wisconsin, in Chippewa Falls and Eau Claire, was listening to the first part of the show, which it turns out one of the few people in civic media who actually listens to this show. No, but I've got to know James a little bit. He's joined us on some live broadcasts. Nobody does his homework better. Nobody is better at just talking off the cuff and putting up with me than James Kelly. I appreciate his support. And so here now we're talking about the third district race in coming up in a year and a half. Rebecca Cook announces she's taking a third shot at this today, and our own James Kelly, and you can view this story on civicmedia.us and simply go to it. Headline, Cook shares campaign focus in Chippewa Falls announcement. So here, James Kelly was on the ground and brings us some of the quotes from Rebecca Cook this morning. And here's what she said, quote, Rebecca Cook, I think we'll certainly be a lot more aggressive. I think we're going to hold his administration's worst instincts accountable, and Derek Van Orton has proven that he's really lockstep with what this administration is attempting to do. And that's going to be hurting our veterans. That's going to be hurting our seniors. That type of cuts that they're proposing, unquote. Well, number one, fantastic. James Kelly was on the ground to bring us that. And number two, this is exactly, Luke, what I was talking about in segment number one, where I had hoped that Cook and whichever other Democrats decide to get into this race talk about. I think these are the right kind of issues.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. I'm kind of trying to today come to terms with the fact that I do not like the fact that we are constantly in a political cycle. Like we have a spring election coming up 3 weeks from today.
Yeah.
That is something that pretty much started immediately after last November's race. But we kind of have this perpetual election cycle here in Wisconsin. And I don't know, maybe it was the optimist in me that was hopeful we would wait a little bit on the 2026 conversations. But here we are, March 11th, Tuesday, March 11th, and we're already going to be discussing 2026. It kind of reminds me of when Tom Nelson up in Outagamie County announced before the 2020 election was even held that he was going to be running against Ron Johnson, running in the Democratic primary for that 2022 U.S. Senate seat. And it's just here in Wisconsin, we've got some perpetual campaign cycles.
And I think part of this doesn't matter which side or what party and what major party you're talking about. This is a political tactic, and it's a smart one by Cook and her team. You try to announce early, thereby discouraging other people from getting in the primary so that you can be a standalone person and not have to spend your money in a primary. I just think it's too early for that in terms of to say that, well, Cook's going to be the person.
Yeah.
I think there are other talented people that live in the 3rd District, whether it's from agriculture, education, or business, that might want to take a shot at this. So I admire Cook for being out there and calling Van Orden to task, but I would just, you're closer to the Democratic Party than I am, but I think maybe behoove people
I once was, maybe. I don't know about right now.
Keep their powder dry, because I have a sense for maybe other people.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of primaries, so I hope that it's not the case that there's kind of just a everybody coalescing around Rebecca. I think it'll be interesting to keep an eye on Cook's campaign for 2026, but I'm a big fan of primaries. I think that voters should have a say in who represents them, and I think that comes in both the form of a partisan primary as well as a general election. And so it'll be interesting to see the messaging that Cook takes to Derek Van Orden, Congressman Van Orden, over the next, what do we got here? Like, I don't know, 20 months, 19 months. So it's going to be some time. I do think it will play an interesting role, though. We've already seen Derek Van Orden put out a press release earlier today because Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders came to his district over the weekend, was in Altoona, and had a pretty jam-packed
2,000 people.
Yeah, that's a good turnout for just a Saturday in March. Because again, folks, we do have an election coming up in April, and if you haven't already made a plan to be a voter, please do so. You got 3 weeks, or early in-person voting starts a week from today, so you can make a plan. Head over to myvote.wi.gov to do that. But like 2,000 people in Altoona, Derek Van Orden's not holding any town halls or anything. He's kind of taken what the national party chair, for the Republicans was giving the advice of stop holding town halls. And so for Bernie Sanders to pack 2,000 people into a room, and then today DVO saying that, hey, I sent a strongly worded message to Elon Musk saying, please make sure that any of these cuts that we're doing to the federal government don't affect our veterans or farmers, I think kind of has a pretty tangible response to somebody like Senator Sanders showing up in his district. And so it'll be interesting to see if Cook can apply that similar pressure to Derek Van Orden and make sure that individuals, at least in the 3rd congressional district here in Wisconsin, kind of have some input and say on what's happening with their elected officials at the federal government.
We'll talk more about that April 1st election, which is coming, of course, much closer than 2026, so 3 weeks or so,
3 weeks.
and lots of importance there. But first, let's go quickly to the phone lines, 855-752-4842. Good old Jack from Merrimack. Always a pleasure, Jack. What have you got for us today?
Well, first of all, you guys are right about one thing. There are a lot of people that are just getting exhausted with this perpetual election cycle, and that's really, it continues to be very dangerous for our democracy. And, my wife is one of those people. Now, she votes every time, but she is definitely getting tired of this, and I think a lot of people are. I think that is, to some extent, partially the tactic of the Republicans, just exhaust people. It's what they're doing at the national level. Just basically throwing anything against the wall, and if whatever sticks, it gets people concentrating on it, and hopefully, the whole purpose is this. Their hope is that they're going to ignore the giveaway of trillions and trillions of dollars to billionaires already. Anyway, I don't know if you've got more time, but my comment.
If you make it quick, please go ahead.
Okay, my comment then is this: Van Orden's district is unfortunately one of the still leftover gerrymandered districts. We never did redistrict our House seats, and that's really too bad. If our representation were proportional to the vote, Wisconsin would basically have 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats, and the majority of, and this is what's really disturbing to me, the majority in the House would be 1 vote for the Republicans in that case.
I agree with you, Jack, but remember that the 3rd district was gerrymandered for Ron Kind. That was gerrymandered to be a Democratic district. That's why it swings over and catches Stephen's point.
Decade and a half ago, though. Let's talk
that's
about
true.
if we had an
but
fair...
it was gerrymandered to lean Democratic. A deal was made with it's the way I've literally seen this happen with Paul Ryan when he called up John Sharpless, who wanted the 2nd congressional. He was Republican. They make this deal to protect the incumbent.
And that's the terrible aspect of how redistricting, when done by elected officials, that we should have some nonpartisan and
100%
reform to gerrymandering.
We should have the Iowa model. Or something close to
something similar to it, I think, would be beneficial. And maybe we would see a 50-50 congressional delegation from Wisconsin, or at least closer to, not 75-25, which we currently have, if we had some fair maps.
855-752-4842. Let's go quickly to Wausau, WXCO, the home of Chad Holmes Show every morning from 8 until 10 locally. Dale, thanks for calling in. What do you have for us?
Yeah. I have something to say on the tariffs. I think the ultimate objective of tariffs is to alienate as many of our NATO allies as possible, to leave us by ourselves weakened and vulnerable to authoritarian impulses in our own government and authoritarian governments in the world, disguised as retribution and protecting ourselves from supposed unfairness from our NATO ally countries. I think we will see tariffs imposed on additional NATO allies. I think also that the tariffs are also being used to weaken our NATO allies. And there's one other thing I want to mention about Greenland.
Quickly, please.
There is something strategically and geographically important to the Trump administration for this push to buy or make Greenland part of the United States. And something is going on there with Greenland.
Appreciate it, Dale. Thank you so very much. Luke, we'll get to that in a second. First of all, I want to go quickly to Los Angeles, California. L.A. Tom, L.A., what have you got for us?
Yeah, the problem with elections, honestly, is one, Wisconsin has way, way too much power when it comes to, along with the other electoral states, have way too much power when it comes to electing a president. And second, money in politics is the evil of all of this. Thank you very much, Citizens United and the conservative Supreme Court. because of you, we have a perpetual, not only just election system, but we have perpetual commercials that are on the television constantly, where that's where people get exhausted and that's where people become apathetic. And that's the reason they run commercials. They aren't running commercials because they want you to show up for their candidate. They're running them so it tires people out.
Right.
Like the gentleman that called before, Jack, who called before about his wife even. People are sick of the commercials. People are sick of the lies in the commercials. That's what I think the problem is. I don't think it's so much that the elections are happening. I think it's so much that there's so much campaigning through commercials, and all the money and dark money that goes on in our country is absolutely what is destroying the United States of America. And
Thank you, L.A. Tom. Thank you so very much. Luke, lots of problems, and people say, hey, when I'm on the street, when I'm walking the dog, which is odd because I don't have a dog, but when I'm out and about, they say, Todd, what can I do about it? Luke, there's something people can do about it because we got an election coming up on April 1st, and we're going to be highlighting that this week.
Yeah, we're going to encourage everybody to be a voter. Our friends over at Up North News are going to be putting on their first live event. You're going to be participating in it.
They had a one final spot to fill, and they couldn't find anybody else. So Kreitlow says, "Can you join us?" So I said, "Sure." I'm the last man in the boat, to use a crew term.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. But it's going to be here in Madison at the Overture. Excuse me, not the Orpheum. At the Overture Center.
Oh, wait! I got the email from Kreitlow that says go to the Orpheum.
Oh, maybe you were the last person then. No. This Overture Center.
Right across the street. We can see it out the window.
So if you're here in Madison, it is a free event. You can head over to Up North News website. It's upnorthnewswi.com/Supreme. You can register for the event. It is free to attend. There's going to be a Supreme Court debate watch party to follow the program. But if you're not here in Madison, you can also listen to the programming here on the Civic Media Radio Network. You can listen from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And hear all of the excellent panels, including the one that is going to be moderated by you, Todd.
It should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Lots of people going to be there, and I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate Civic Media taking time for this. One of the many reasons I enjoy working here is that you allow opportunity for, we call them in the business, long-form discussions. This is not snippets. These are opportunities for people to really get ideas out there, have a good conversation. So that's what I'm looking forward to about Wednesday.
Real news, great conversation.
That should be a slogan. Wait, it is. Wait, it is.
So yeah, it's going to be an excellent event. So if you haven't yet registered, head over to the Up North News website. Also, we've got the opportunity to listen to it here on the Civic Media Radio Network, 5 to 7 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, March 12th.
Come on back for Tuesday Tangents with Luke. Talk a little sports, find out what's grinding his gears, and more. It's the Allbaugh Show for a Tuesday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Real news and great conversation.
All right, Luke, what do you want to talk about?
92.7 WMDX.
Judge Brad Schimmel is an anti-choice politician whose position.
Taking a drink of water. You asked me as soon as I was
He supports a pre.
We can give Churio a happy birthday shout out.
Oh yeah, that's where we're going. We're going to Arizona.
We can talk about how bad the Badgers.
Well, let's go to Arizona.
Okay. You were hoping 2-seed, and I was trying to temper expectations, and you're like, Badgers are a 2-seed, and now I don't think they're going to be a 2-seed.
They're not going to. And I mean, the only viable way, and even then, I think the best I think their ceiling is 3. I mean, maybe if they would get to the championship game of the Big Ten tournament, maybe they go to, and if they win, but by that Sunday, it's pretty locked in. I mean,
no, they're definitely waiting for the championship game.
I know, but it can't be Michigan State, Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship because they face each other in the semifinal if they get that far.
Yeah, if they get that far.
So I mean, if Wisconsin wins the championship, then maybe they go to a 2, maybe, and it depends on where other people.
Well, it would have to be like I think they'd have to have a decisive win over Michigan State in the tournament as well. Like if it's a close kind of thing there, and then they barely eke out the win in the championship, I think that there's still a case that they're the first.
I mean, I think the good thing for Wisconsin, for those watching the stream, they get to face UCLA, which beat them earlier, and they get to face Michigan State potentially, which beat them. So I mean, those are two kind of
retribution games.
Well, they get to show the committee that they can actually beat those people. Thus ends the sports broadcast of the show. Handball glove ready. We're gonna play some baseball. Wait, I'm not on the itinerary, it turns out. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 9 before the hour of 1 o'clock. Coming up in hour number 2. A little what's worse for you: bumper stickers or screamy, not creamy, but screamy social media posts. We'll talk about that in hour number 2. And also very excited. Former Lieutenant Governor Nelson Mandela Barnes. I knew I was going to do that. Because
I was hoping you would get through without doing it.
My sister warned me that I would say this. Because here's the thing. I was watching, do you know who Jiminy Glick is?
Yes.
The Martin Short character?
Yes.
And for those that don't know, Martin Short does a character where he puts on a big fat suit and stuff, and he acts like a stereotypical over-the-top host who doesn't know anything and is very condescending. And so I was watching a bunch of this last night. I told my sister, wouldn't it be funny if I opened up the interview today as Jiminy Glick? And I said, so, Mandela, you spent a lot of time in prison. Are you claustrophobic? She goes, don't even pretend, because you're going to do that.
I think your sister might have been right.
Yeah, she is.
She's
My sister is
right.
always right.
Yeah.
And so here I messed it up. So I'll be on my best behavior in a half an hour with former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. He is doing a great project right now, speaking to Wisconsin folks who have lost their job due to the Musk, Trump, doggy cuts, and what impact that has not only on people in Wisconsin, but the services. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be an excellent conversation. And Mandela and Dan Schaefer over the recombobulation area did put this together. It's I think, very important coverage to be telling those stories.
Yeah, it really is. And kudos to you and to them for putting this together, and the opportunity to talk to Mandela Barnes at the bottom of the hour. Right now, the reason I opened up this segment with all this travel talk, Lukester, you're going to spring training.
I'm going to head out to spring training. Yeah, I'm going to catch some spring training games this weekend. Looking forward to it. The Cactus League, as it's called, and it should be a good time.
It really, and you've never been there before.
I have not. I fortunately did not have to wait as long as our friend Mr. Kreitlow. Did not have to wait until I was 16 and then sneak away there. But it'll be a good time. I'm going with my brothers and my dad. So little boys trip out to the desert to watch some baseball.
I'm so happy for you. I think it'll be a great time because I've heard it's just a different vibe there. Mm-hmm. You get to physically be, and sometimes the players interact a little bit more with the fans because, these games, quote unquote, don't count in terms of the postseason. It counts for the players.
Right. It matters to the players getting these reps in. You're playing against other big leaguers. Like it's important, but it's kind of the vibe of whose line is it anyways, where the points are made up and they don't really matter.
Right.
So the record doesn't go to anything at the end.
One of the big Brewers has a big birthday coming up.
Yeah, Jackson Churio. Finally of age today.
21.
21 years old.
Who is buying
today.
Jackson Churio a beer?
I'm curious to know who in the clubhouse might have got him.
Because I'm sure he's never had a drink before.
No. I'm sure. No. With all maybe.
But last year when they won the division, they gave him that baby carriage or whatever, like non-alcoholic
sparkling cider. Or no, it might have been just. I think it was Coors NA. I forget what it was because I don't. Does Miller do? I don't know if Miller does an NA. I know that Coors absolutely does, and I think it might have been non-alcoholic Coors the banquet beer. That's what it was.
You don't want that. Every time I think of Euchre now, all I can think about is Norm Macdonald doing Bob Euchre.
It's one way to commemorate the icon. Sure. They're up there cracking jokes with each other, I'm sure.
Of course. Well, this is great. The Brewers, some people are getting very excited. Christian Yelich had his first home run here a couple of days ago.
They took care of business yesterday against Seattle. So they were playing Seattle in spring training yesterday afternoon, and so they had a good showing there. It's going to be interesting to see how the offense can keep up with the pitching. So we've got obviously a lot of new faces this year. It's going to be, again, a relatively younger roster compared to the rest of the league. And so I'm really hoping we can see some production. Garrett Mitchell was looking good. He's getting back into the hopefully 100% health as well. So seeing some of those players trending in the right direction. They're already dealing with some injuries, though. We've got a pitcher. His name is escaping me right at this moment. That's already going to be sidelines.
I can't say it either.
Like JB, I want to say, but I can't think of his last name.
He's wreaked havoc against the Brewers for several years, and now he is a Brewer, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, so hopefully he'll get healthy. We still wait and see. Brandon Woodruff is going to be starting to pitch against some of the minors this week, so it'll be hopefully him getting
not
back
like
into
young players, but like
no, the minor league, the minor affiliates and everything at the Cactus League. Not
Woodruff taking out a 14-year-old batter.
Just throwing a 95-mile-an-hour fastball just right past a 12-year-old. No, that's
all right.
Come on, you know what the minors are. It's baseball.
All right, let's talk quickly because we could talk about the Badgers debacle over the weekend. They're in the Big Ten tournament. They play on Thursday against the winner of the Minnesota Evil Golden Gophers and the Northwestern Has-Beens.
Wildcats.
No, so they'll play that, and if they win there, they'll probably play Michigan State.
I'm hoping they match up against Northwestern though, because Minnesota almost gave us a little trouble.
Minnesota's coming on late in the season, a lot like Penn State. Oh my God. Let's give a quick shout out to Wisconsin Lutheran College. Our own Jimmy Kuska was calling the game of the weekend. My alma mater, the Platteville Pioneers. Greg Gard's brother, Jeff, is the head coach down there. Been doing a great job. And they were in the second round of 32 on the old Bo Ryan court in Platteville. And by golly, Wisconsin Lutheran College of Southeast Wisconsin went in and beat the Pioneers in overtime.
Yeah, I heard it was an impressive call. So our buddy Jimmy Koska doing an excellent work on it. But
good for them.
It's that time of year. It's the matchups. It is called the madness of this month for a reason. And it's pretty exciting. I'm hoping the Badgers can kind of reverse some of the trends that they've been having. And best of luck to Marquette, too. They got the Big East going on. So.
Marquette, also a team on the decline at the end of the season. And a big shout out to Wisconsin Badger women's hockey. Another championship, winning the WCHA, the #1 seed for Coach Mark Johnson, the Badgers. Wow.
It's going to hopefully continue to win.
All they do is just keep winning, those Lady Badgers. Thank you, Luxor. Have a great time in Arizona. Come back.
See you later.
You come back in the second hour. What's Worse is next on the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media.
Madison's Real News and Great Conversation, 92.7 WMDX. Jane Matnair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, measles making a recurrence in the United States. Dr. Kristen Lyerly joins us to talk about it. Don't miss it.
Matt Nair on air, weekday mornings at 11. Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Tom from Monona. I love this one. He says, "This is Tom. I like to rub my feet together and drink milk out of the cow." Listen, we'd all spoon ourselves if we could, just for some affection. But rubbing your feet together, as I mentioned last week, is the closest thing to self-cuddling. It's just a relaxing, and Tom wants to do that, apparently laying under the udder of a cow. That is the idea of a chill evening on Fat Tuesday.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app. Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us. This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The U.S. and Canada locked in a tariff back and forth. Canada says it doesn't want it. President Trump today doubling down.
President Trump appears to be ramping up his trade war against Canada, announcing Tuesday morning he'll increase tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum from 25% to 50%. Those tariffs will go into effect on Wednesday. The president says he's retaliating for the tariffs that Ontario has placed on electricity it sends to Minnesota, Michigan, and New York.
ABC's Karen Travers. Canada's incoming prime minister says he will keep tariffs in place place until Americans show respect and commit to free trade. Another government shutdown is possible at the end of this week. Republican leaders in the House presenting a GOP bill today to vote on that would extend funding and avert a shutdown. Democrats say it doesn't protect key programs or federal workers from further DOGE cuts. In Saudi Arabia, U.S. and Ukrainian officials holding talks on a possible ceasefire deal between Ukraine and Russia. This is ABC News.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Governor Tony Evers has unveiled a capital budget he calls a critical step to address aging infrastructure. With a $4.3 billion price tag, the governor's proposal includes nearly $1.6 billion for projects on UW campuses and more than $493 million for costs of his previously announced plan to overhaul Wisconsin's corrections system. Evers warned that putting the projects off could drive up the final costs because of President Donald Trump's push for tariffs. But the Republican co-chairs of the legislature's Joint Finance Committee, Senators Howard Markline and Representative Mark Bourne, quickly called the plan another example of Evers' quote, irresponsible spending. Also included in the budget, Evers plans to raise prices for hunting and fishing licenses. Brittany Merlot reports.
Senate Bill 45 lays out the hunting, fishing, and trapping fees. A majority of the licenses and tags would increase by $10 to $20, including for small game, deer, fishing, and wild turkey. Some fees could increase by $40, including wolf harvesting, with a new fee of $88, and conservation patron has a new fee of $201. The last time license fees rose for residents was in 2005. However, in 2023, non-resident fees rose as a part of Governor Evers' 2024-25 budget. The DNR says that over the last 20 years, inflation has increased 59%, and costs of equipment and many items needed have jumped even more.
Meanwhile, Rebecca Cook has announced she's running again, her third try for Wisconsin's 3rd district. Cook, a Democrat, lost to Republican Derek Van Orden last fall by nearly 3 percentage points, but outperformed Democrats Kamala Harris and Tammy Baldwin. She previously ran for the seat in 2022, losing in the primary to Brad Pfaff. Cook is the first person to announce their candidacy to challenge Van Orden. The president of the Eau Claire City Council is also considering a run for Congress. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is 92.7 WMDX News.
The Brewers get the win. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports baseball. The Brewers beat the Seattle Mariners 7-5 in Cactus League action. Christian Yelich, coming off back surgery, delivered a home run.
Each year you feel different, or your swing's a little bit different, and you just have to prepare yourself with what you got that year and make it the best version of yourself and go compete and see what happens.
Up next, the Brewers face the Cubs. NFL free agency. Packers signing 2 players. 49ers offensive guard Aaron Banks, 6'5", 325 pounds. It's a 4-year deal worth $77 million. He'll play left guard. Elton Jenkins will move to center. Josh Myers is a free agent. On defense, the Packers adding defensive back Nate Hobbs from the Raiders. A 4-year contract worth $48 million, $16 million guaranteed. The Packers losing TJ Slayton to the Bengals. The defensive lineman getting a 2-year deal worth just over $15 million. Bucks on the road tonight in Indy against the Pacers.
I got a
on Mike
catheter,
Clemens.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
Cooler today compared to yesterday, with highs flirting with 50. We've got a crisp north breeze, but we're sitting pretty under plenty of sunshine. Getting warmer tomorrow, we'll flirt with 60 degrees, climbing to the mid-60s on Thursday, and soaring to the mid-70s on Friday. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Right now, 44 degrees.
Tons of glass artists share the same passion for eye-catching art as Ignite Glass and Gifts, so we're showcasing their work alongside our talented local artists and our in-house Ignite artists. The latest techniques, the hottest colors, and mind-blowing designs are here for you to enjoy. Madison's favorite for glass, gifts, and vape. Ignite Glass and Gifts. Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and O'Dana
We also have
Road.
the Elon audio of him talking about cutting entitlements, if you want to get to that.
Yeah. What should we do that like during the Mandela interview?
That might be a good
I think
time.
it's like kind of related.
I would say it's related.
Yeah.
All right, 30 seconds.
All right, thank you.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with fantastic Mr. Aaron Zommers on the board, our producer and engineer. It is 6 past the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program. Glad to have you along on a sunshiny Tuesday. Fantastic day at the world headquarters of Civic Media in downtown Madison. Mr. Zommers, this is a beautiful day. I love spring days like this.
It's pretty sunny out there. And yeah, as long as you got your sunglasses.
Yes, got to have the old sunglasses on. It's Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Big second hour coming up at the bottom of the hour. Former Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes will be here to this. And this is a great project. And if you want to learn more, and we'll talk about this at the bottom of the hour, you can go to civicmedia.us. You can also go to the recombobulationarea.com. Our friend and colleague now, Civic Media's political editor, Dan Schaefer, has been helping with this project. He joins the former Lieutenant Governor Barnes on this new podcast. And the title is Pawn in a Billionaire's Game. A federal worker shares her story. And this is the story of Katya Wanish and the Lieutenant Governor and former Lieutenant Governor. And Dan Schaefer sat down with her. And so Mandela Barnes will be here at the bottom of the hour to talk about this. And this is great because here's a guy like the former Lieutenant Governor who spent 4 years in the governor's office, traveled the state, ran for U.S. Senate, traveled the state, has talked to a lot of Wisconsinites, and now is helping us understand what goes on at the federal level and how this directly impacts Wisconsinites. So this will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I got to listen to the conversation because I recorded it, and it's kind of exactly what you expect in that. Wow, this is hurting exactly what you and I expect anyway. Wow, this is hurting everyday Wisconsinites for no real discernible reason.
Yeah, I think it's important when, pardon me, when we can put it in local context like this. So really looking forward to our conversation with the former Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes, at the bottom of the hour. Also going to have What's Worse coming up here as well. This is interesting one with bumper stickers and social media. So talk about it. By the way, many thanks to Luke Mathers. Here's a guy who has like a million different responsibilities, and he has the kindness to stop by our little dog and pony show. So that's great. And he's getting ready to go to spring training on top of it. So we always appreciate Luke stopping by on a Tuesday and chatting with us. Want to talk about a couple of national issues going on today. Stock market continues to fall. And this ain't fun for folks like me and a lot of others who might have a 401k. And people get very understandably so nervous when they see the stock market going down, down, down. And people say, well, what about my 401k? Again, I cannot give you financial advice. I'm not a financial person. I know people that are. And most folks will tell you, you got to let it ride. You don't be pulling out your 401k. And, I mean, unless I guess, again, I'm not giving financial advice out, but if you're going to retire in the next few months, maybe. But
my dad was planning on retiring later this year, but given all this, we'll see.
But so this is scary stuff to a lot of people. And part of what's causing this, the big story, this is courtesy of CBS News. President Trump said he will impose even higher tariffs on Canada beginning on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. Doubling the levy on steel and aluminum imports to 50%, 50. Trump said the decision came in response to Ontario's move to impose a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to the U.S. Mr. Trump has already imposed a 25% tariff on nearly all imports from Canada and declared a 25% tariff on all steel and aluminum imports from any foreign country. Here's what, and normally I don't read the entire Trump social media post. This is on his personal social media platform called Truth Social. Lots of there's a lot to that title. Anyway, here's what Trump tweeted out today. Quote, based on Ontario, Canada, placing a 25% tariff on quote-unquote electricity, not sure why I put quotes around that, coming into the United States, I have instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariff to 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States from Canada, one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world, unquote. It said they go into effect tomorrow. Stocks continue to tumble again amid uncertainty over the president's tariff regime and fears that the U.S. economy could slip into a recession. And by the way, he was on Fox News yesterday and did not deny that. Even when asked by the host, was given an opportunity to say, no, I don't think that's where we're going. He wouldn't rule it out. Trump would not rule out going into recession. The president, according to CBS News, the president also today reiterated his desire for Canada to become the 51st state of the United States, a proposal Canada opposes, suggesting the northern neighbor won't face tariff pressure if they acquiesce. Now, that's a line written by CBS, which I have a lot of respect for, but that is, in my opinion, that is a placating sentence to write in a news story. Because it's bizarre. Here's what Trump actually said, quote, the only thing that makes sense is for Canada to become our cherished 51st state. This would make all tariffs and everything else totally disappear. Canadian taxes will be very substantially reduced. They will be more secure militarily and otherwise than ever before. There would no longer be a northern border problem, and the greatest, most powerful nation in the world will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever, and Canada will be a big part of that, unquote. This is all a direct quote today from the President of the United States. I mean, if any other president before Trump had said this, the line, let me read this again from CBS, quote, the president also reiterated his desire for Canada to become the United States' 51st state, a proposal Canadians oppose, suggesting the northern neighbor won't face tariff pressure if they acquiesce. I'm sorry, that's just terrible news writing by CBS. Because if any other president before Trump had put into words or said verbally, which Trump now has done, that the only way to avoid tariffs is for another country, an ally, to become the 51st state, the headline would be, President of the United States is back crap crazy, and they wouldn't use the word crap. Take Trump out of it for a second. Take all of his craziness, all of his looniness, and put in, the office of President of the United States. It is the most powerful position, for better or worse, in the world, given our military, our economic strength, everything else. For that individual, the holder of that office, to tell an ally the only way to avoid crippling tariffs is for us to overtake you, that's tantamount to a declaration of war. That should be taken deadly seriously. And for Republicans not to be coming out and saying things like, hey, maybe the 25th Amendment is in order here. It shows you how far we've slipped in less than 2 months. Trump went on to talk about going after his car industry, crippling the car industry. Think about all of your friends and neighbors that have car dealerships. Think how this affects them. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Let's go to the phone lines quickly. WCFW, the tap up in Eau Claire. Gene in Eau Claire, quickly, if you could, please, Gene. What say you?
Oh, okay. This is a pattern of abusive behavior. You can see this with people who abuse others. And he's been enabled by the Republicans. I mean, he's going after people left and right. He hates the people that he's going after, and that includes all of us. Pay attention. There's never anything positive toward America. It's hate and revenge. Thank you very much, and keep up the great work. Bye.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate it. And what's equally disturbing is, again, the Trump administration, under the direction of Trump, cutting off, to Gene's point, to cutting off intelligence cooperation, not now just with Ukraine, but also with other U.S. allies, the Five Eyes. To the point now where there are reports that our American allies in Europe are considering icing the United States out of information for fear that will be passed along to Putin in Russia. I've never seen anything like it. It's 17 past the hour of 1 o'clock. We're going to take a turn, try to lighten things up for a moment in time once again for what's worse.
This or that, this or that. And of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get with that.
Time once again for what's worse. Nothing to give away. No prizes right now. Although stay tuned soon. Another text to win contest is down the road. But right now, a little fun before we bring on the former lieutenant governor at the bottom of the hour. Timely indeed. It's that time. People washing their cars, Roberts. Lots of people wash their cars now when it gets nice out. And people put bumper stickers on their cars in the election season, and you have to make that decision. Do you take the bumper sticker off or do you leave it on? And so today's what's worse? What's worse? Bumper stickers or screamy social media posts? Screamy. So here's an example of a screamy social media post. It says, if you're a journalist whose boss insists you ignore stories that make Donald Trump look bad and you agree, you're not a journalist anymore. You're a propagandist. That's a screamy social media post. What's worse, a bumper sticker or a screamy social media post? 855-752-4842 or text us on the app. Come on back. We'll discuss. It's the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media's Radio Network.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Listen to the John and Gordy Show weekdays right here on WMDX, sponsored by Verlo Mattress. Sleep better, dream bigger on a handcrafted, locally made mattress. Find them on Madison's East and West Side or online at Verlo.com.
Ready for the April election? Here's a special invitation for you. Join the free Protecting Justice for All conversation about the Wisconsin Supreme Court race Wednesday, March 12th from 5 till 7 p.m. at the Overture Center in Madison.
Up North News radio host Pat Kreitlow, Civic Media's Todd Allbaugh, and Dan Schaefer will lead a guest discussion about the economy, education, environment, and more. Then stay for the candidates' debate watch party.
Attend in person or listen to live coverage from the Overture Center in Madison, Wednesday night, March 12th from 5 till 7 on your local Civic Media radio station and the app.
That first time seeing
wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along on a Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. Zommers on the board, eagerly awaiting your calls. After the bottom of the hour news update, going to welcome former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, talking about a new project where he is interviewing folks who have lost their job in Wisconsin as a part of the Trump-Musk-Doge cuts and what have the impacts on Wisconsin. Looking forward to the conversation with former Lieutenant Governor Barnes at the bottom of the hour. Right now, having a little fun ahead of that, today's What's Worse question for you. On the lighter side, what's worse, bumper stickers or screamy social media posts? And what we mean by this are social media posts you find, what they call them, memes, right? Not memes, but memes.
Yeah, meme.
I knew that when I was just having a little fun. Memes, it could be a meme. It could be just a post where people are just kind of screaming at you with an opinion. And you open up you're going through your Facebook or whatever, Twitter or Threads or Blue Sky or whatever, and you come across this thing and people are just screaming these opinions at you. And you're like, oh, geez. What's worse, that or you're driving around and there's a person in front of you that has like 20 bumper stickers on the back of their truck. Maybe it's somebody you didn't vote for. It might be bumper stickers with swear words on them and you got 5-year-old kids in the car. I mean, that's also annoying. So what's worse, bumper stickers or screamy social media posts? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Christine in Slinger on WAUK says screaming social media posts, but both are awful. Yeah, right? Neither one are great. Zommers, do you have an opinion on this one?
I gotta say, I think it's a little nuanced because, so the screamy social media posts I think are worse though. Ultimately, they're worse in that they are usually formatted worse. Like at least a bumper sticker has been proofread by somebody.
Right.
And for me, grammatical errors and spelling errors and stuff annoy me. And so when people have bad opinions and they can't write and everybody has to look at it, like that's just annoying. The thing that's good about screamy social media posts is if they post an opinion that's super out there and people comment agreeing with it, you know who not to talk to anymore.
Well, that's true as well. Our own Casper on WMDX in Madison says screamy social media posts are worse. MT in the Grove, as in Monona Grove, on WMDX says, I can drive around the cars with stickers and I can shut off my devices. Maybe I'll just move into a cave until those Republicans figure out what their sacks are and get that squatter impersonating the president out of office. Wow. MT in the Grove, very, very, very direct today. Appreciate the listenership. Dave in New Berlin. Oh, that's something else, actually. All right, very good. Just trying to think if there's anything else here on the on what's worse.
Wisco Paul says bumper stickers are worse.
Very good. Wisco Paul saying bumper stickers are worse. What's worse, bumper stickers or screamy, in other words, very opinionated, annoying social media posts? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Now, occasionally, you don't see this as much anymore, but occasionally you'll see a bumper sticker that really makes you laugh. And that's always a lot of fun. But then, like I said, then the ones that I think are just the ones that just have very vulgar swear words on them, because especially if you got a kid or something in the car, I mean, you don't want them to see that. Nobody wants that. And it's like, well, it's a free country. I can say what I want. It's like, okay, but really? 855-752-4842. Brian, listening on WAUK Milwaukee. Brian, thanks for calling in. What's worse, bumper stickers or screamy social media posts?
Bumper stickers. And the only reason I'm saying that is there was one time I was driving with my brother to a family event, and he is LGBT and has a whole bunch of LGBT supporting stickers on the back of his car, like dudes say, dudes get over it.
Mm-hmm.
And we stopped at a gas station with the family, and when we came back to his vehicle, because I was riding with him, there was like 10 people outside his vehicle taking photos of his bumper stickers.
Wow, really?
And everyone's like, oh, you guys are such a wonderful couple, and, you know, we're really supportive of everything you stand for. I'm like, nope, he's my brother. Oh, no need to be embarrassed about it. We support you for who you are. And Mike's like, no, this is my car. I'm his brother. We're on a family trip. So
I mean, nice you got the love. It's just that they
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks for sharing that, Brian. That was a good story.
That's a good reason to say those are worse.
Yeah, 855-752-4842. Ollie up in the North Woods. Ollie, is always a pleasure. Bumper stickers or screamy social media posts? What's worse?
Well, I'm not sure exactly which to pick. I don't use social media for the simple fact that it's always rude, and I prefer to get my news and fun facts for the day from civic media. So I guess I'll have to go with rude bumper stickers.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you sticking with us, Ollie, and appreciate you laughing with us on occasion as well.
Spread the word.
We appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Great to have that listenership up there in Hayward and Amory up there in the North Woods of Wisconsin. What's worse, bumper stickers or screamy social media posts? 855-752-4842. If I had to choose, it's kind of a tough one for me.
It is.
I guess I would say probably screamy social media posts because, like one of our listeners or callers saying, you can just go around. I mean, if it really offends you or whatever, you could just go around that person if you don't want to look at their bumper sticker. I'm always amused by bumper stickers that are offensive, and then you look and see who's driving.
That is funny.
Right?
That's true.
It's like, really? That person put that on their truck or their car or whatever? I just think the screamy social media post because it just clogs up my timeline or whatever. And
makes it harder to see the stuff you're there for, whether it's family updates or news or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I would say the screamy social media posts are worse. But I appreciate everybody played along. That was fantastic. And we'll have more What's Worse in hour number 2 tomorrow. Tomorrow also we're going to have Trygve Olsen on the show in hour number 1, senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. And in hour number 2, Pat Kreitlow needing special accommodations now, because he's a big deal.
I thought he just didn't want to talk about being old with Trygve again.
No, don't say that. He's going to be, Kreitlow's going to be here in hour 2 if Zommers didn't defend him.
Talk about...
Because we got this deal tomorrow night on Civic Media, so that'll be fun. Stay tuned next. After the news and weather update, we have former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. Not going to want to miss it, live on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Should have said calling each other old. That's more accurate.
This local program, find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. The Department of Public Instruction says Wisconsin hit record high graduation rates last school year. Lisa Hale has more.
The 2023-24 school year saw about 91% of Wisconsin's high
Casper
school
just sent me an article from CNBC. Ukraine agrees to U.S.-led ceasefire plan if Russia accepts.
Wow. That's interesting. There he is, the one, the owner, only Mandela Barnes. How are you, Lieutenant Governor?
He is. I think he's still getting set up. And also is currently muted.
Taking steps to make one of Madison's most dangerous intersections safer. We're talking about where West Washington Avenue intersects with the Southwest commuter path near Proudfoot.
Still not hearing anything. Can you talk again?
10 bicyclists and 1 pedestrian have been hit by cars. Now, the Madison Transportation Commission has decided to permanently consolidate West Wash to 2 lanes there and install traffic lights.
There we go.
Hey, there he is.
Yeah, it does the thing where like the audio like connects to my phone, man. Like I don't know how I got that.
Right? On some of my equipment, it defaults. If I have my phone Bluetooth setting on, it'll connect to that. I'm like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah.
How are you?
Doing all right. What about you?
I'm doing well, thanks. It's a beautiful sunny day, so I can't complain. Looking forward to a nice discussion. I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, for sure. Happy to be here.
I've got so Zommers, can you have time? Because they sent us a couple of clips and they're really short.
They're really short.
Can you just pull up the podcast, or can we just like get like a minute's worth, or just find a spot where we could go to that? Because I like to play part of the discussion if we can, and then kind of just talk about how you came to do this and doing it with Dan and based on your experience being lieutenant governor and traveling all around the state, things that you've heard from Wisconsinites, and I think I shouldn't say cool. That's not really cool, but the important part of this is the impact on Wisconsinites and the services, and certainly the people are part of it. And it's tragic when someone loses a job, but it's also, to a larger sense, all these services are going to get cut. So just your experience of that and your reflections on that as well.
For sure.
Is there any particular area you want to make sure that we cover?
Oh no, I'm ready for whatever. Like we can.
Okay.
I don't have a specific. This is it's your world.
No, we're happy to have you here.
Hey, I'm happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. I may be talking to another person soon too. We're trying to get that figured out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I found a spot in the interview we could do.
All right.
Where he asked, what's an important piece of perspective you want to provide, as a person, not just a number, and then she's got
great.
an answer.
Okay,
so.
cool. And am I correct? The last name, it's Cotneal Wanish. Is that
Yep.
how you pronounce it? Wanish? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we got about 30 seconds.
Thank you so very much. Wherever it may lead, and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Ready Network. And it's 34 minutes now past the hour of 1 o'clock on Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. Zommers on the board. Glad to have you along. Before we go to our next guest, a little breaking news across the wires. According to CNBC at this hour, Ukraine has agreed to a United States-led ceasefire plan if Russia accepts. This is breaking now. We'll continue to have more details on our updates at the top and bottom of each hour. Keep it here at Civic Media as we continue to break this or follow this breaking news story. Again, the headline from CNBC at this hour: Ukraine agrees to a U.S.-led ceasefire plan if Russia accepts. We turn a page now and welcome our next guest to the program. Always fantastic to have him here on Civic Media. He is Wisconsin's former Lieutenant Governor, Mandela Barnes, who joins us now via StreamYard. Lieutenant Governor, so happy to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Hey, man. Thanks so much for having me. Really excited to be here. How you doing?
Well, I am well. It's a beautiful sunny day in Wisconsin. It's always great to talk about Wisconsin, and you have a unique perspective, and I appreciate you coming. For those that might not be familiar, you've been on the show before as a part of this program called Democracy Defense Project, and it's a bipartisan group, as one of my former bosses, former Republican Congressman Scott Klug, along with yourself and former Wisconsin Democratic Party Chair Mike Tate, and as well as former Republican Attorney General J.B. Van Hollen. And so I think it's just important at the outset of this to note, because we hear so often, nobody's trying to find solutions. And I think you folks, and you in particular, are saying, hey, let's sit down in a bipartisan fashion. We're not going to agree on everything, but let's find ways to move forward on democracy. And I just want to say thank you publicly for being part of this and being a leader in this.
For sure. Thank you. And I think it's also better that we don't agree on everything because it drives the point home how important our democracy is. And I think we're learning every day how more fragile it is than many of us even preached about.
In your time as Lieutenant Governor here with Governor Tony Evers, you were in a lot of meetings and dealt with people at the federal level as well. People like yourself understand how critical federal partnership and support is to the programs in Wisconsin. I'm just curious, did you, in your wildest imagination in your days, Lieutenant Governor, think, well, there might be a time when the federal government just kind of gives Wisconsin the middle finger and says, we're not going to help you out?
Well, so when I was Lieutenant Governor, it was an interesting time. It was somewhat like it is now, but this time is like it is. Everything has been just exacerbated. It's been. I can't even find the words, right? Like this is
right. Yeah.
What was going on 8 years ago compared to now? This is like level 10. And so with what we were doing, especially as it related to clean energy, I would say that, we assumed very little help from the federal government. When it came to infrastructure, we assumed very little help from the federal government. We were promised infrastructure week 4 years. It never happened. And so a lot of it, we, figured we were going to be going it alone. And we took that risk. We took the chance and still tried to do what was best for the people of Wisconsin. But now it's worse than not just being there to help out the state of Wisconsin. It is more than just a middle finger to the people of Wisconsin. It is an absolute and deliberate destruction of the opportunities that have existed, the ones that we have worked so hard to create, the many achievements of the Biden-Harris administration. And not just to, say, oh, the Biden-Harris administration did all this. They did do a lot, but even the work of the administration here in state, so much of that is being undone very intentionally, very deliberately, very willfully and forcefully. And we're seeing very real world implications of that. And it has not even been 2 months.
Yeah, that's the remarkable part. I mean, we talked about last segment. I don't want to open up that bottle of wine right now. But again, let's forget Trump for a second. Just the office of President of the United States essentially declaring war on Canada, saying the only way you avoid tariffs is becoming the 51st state. That's beyond aggression. I mean, that's just it's preposterous. But I want to get to what this project that you're working on. And again, I think this is healthy for us as Wisconsinites, not only to just acknowledge the dangers and the darkness out there, but I think it's also, and you know this as somebody who's won statewide office, you got to give people hope. You got to give people hope that there's people out there fighting, and you're one of those folks, along with our own Dan Schaefer, who's our own political editor here at Civic Media, has the founder, of course, of the Recombobulation Area, and you can find this work at recombobulationarea.com as well as civicmedia.us.
It's the recombobulationarea.news.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. See, this is why, Lieutenant Governor, you got to have a good producer like Zommers. He keeps you on track. Thank you. Recombobulationarea.news. This article entitled "Pawn in a Billionaire's Game: A Federal Worker Shares Her Story," the story of Katnia Wanish. Lieutenant Governor Barnes, tell us how you came to this project and why it's important to you.
Well, I remember, one of the most sensational stories I've seen surrounding folks getting fired. This one got shared around so many times. There was a person like the National Park Service talked about how he got his dream job and how this was all being taken away, not just from him, but for the people that visit the parks that he works at. He talked about the services that his staff, his office, he is an individual provided to people, and how without them, it is going to be a completely different national park experience, if any at all. And there aren't going to be people to do the level of enforcement, to do the level of maintenance that's necessary with maintaining a flourishing and thriving national park system. And for a lot of people, it can be easy to hear federal worker and think, oh, well, that's a person, in Washington, D.C. and, D.C. government's bloated and all this other stuff. But we're talking about water quality. We're talking about public health. We're talking about Veterans Affairs. We're talking about the delivery of healthcare and health services. We're talking about very large operations that make the world go round. And it can be easy if you have never driven a car to open it and say, oh, that part must be useless because I never have to put my foot on it. Oh, I never have to put my hand on this piece. Well, it must not mean anything for the function of this vehicle. And that is exactly what's happening right now with the Elon Musk committee. I refuse to give it any credence by calling it what he would like for us to call it.
I call it the doggy, but anyway.
The doggy. I tried to, I tried it once. It didn't work for me. But I mean, not gonna go there. I was gonna say something people actually like, and we don't want to give it that name. And so, with the point of all of this, right? Like, I wanted to be sure. I mean, I guess I should say that these stories touch home. And then I saw a post from Katia. We are friends, right? We were part of a running group together. But honestly, we probably hadn't had more than a paragraph worth of conversation in previous times. But I saw what she posted, and she's real passionate about the work that she was doing, that she was tasked with. And I was upset, because she was working on issues that have been important to me for a long time. So there was, one, the person I knew, two, the issues she was taking on, and three, just the callousness and disrespect that she and so many others are treated with. And I reached out to her even before I talked to anybody over here at Civic Media, because I knew that this was something that needed to be shared, something that needed to be talked about. And I was going to figure out one way or another to get her story out there, because there are thousands of other people who are in her shoes.
I think this is fantastic that you took time to tell this story, because I think the way that we as Wisconsinites learn about one another and educate isn't so often on national news stories or what's in our social media feed. It's about listening to and discussing things with our friends and neighbors. And here now you bring a story of a Wisconsinite, Katia Wanish, who is a federal worker, but what she does impacts so many Wisconsinites. Let's take a listen if we can, Zommers. This is just a cut from this project by Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes and our own Dan Schaefer talking to Katia Wanish.
Perspective. And what's the thing you want people to know?
Yeah, I guess I just want people to know, like, that this is impacting real people. It's not just random people working behind a computer. These are real people with real lives that do real things to help the Americans and the people living in this country. I guess one thing that keeps on really stinging to me, so I worked a year and a half for Indian Health Services, like I was telling you about earlier, and then I switched to USDA for 1 month while I was there in that brief period of time. And, I was super excited. I remember texting my sister on the first day of the job and saying, I think this is my dream job. I was a wetlands engineer there, so working to restore wetlands primarily in southern Wisconsin. And I was super excited about that position. I finally felt, I had 4 years of schooling and, started with a different public job in the federal government and finally transitioned into like my dream job. And I was so excited about it. And I guess I knew when I started, I could start to sense that there was a little turmoil. I was the last batch of hires to get brought on before they had the shutdown on hiring. And something that still stings me to this day, I guess, is had I stayed with Indian Health Services, I was not a probationary employee there anymore, and I would have still been around. But because I transferred to USDA, I started a new probation and I was let go.
Katia Wanish, one of the federal workers, filed recently in the Elon Musk Donald Trump cuts. Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, the host there of this program with our own Dan Schaefer. I thought that was so powerful, Lieutenant Governor, to hear that in her own words. You could hear the emotion in her voice, how dedicated she is to wetlands. And I think, again, on its face, too often in politics, oh, wetlands, that's just a liberal issue. Wait a minute, time out. If you're a duck hunter, if you're somebody who enjoys that, if you're a fisherman, a fisher person, wetlands are extraordinarily important, not to mention this little thing called drinking water. So this is not a partisan issue. Clean water and wetlands is critical to all Wisconsinites.
For sure. And, I would say there was, I'm trying to remember, this was either Tom, I think it was Tom Tiffany, actually. He was talking about getting rid of solar panel incentives because it is taken away from farmland. One, as if you can't farm any sort of crops or graze at all where there are solar panels. 2, he was actually in the state assembly when Scott Walker reduced wetlands protections. And so it's just this level of disingenuousness, and there's this level of just misunderstanding. Again, I go back to the car analogy, right? Like, just if you live in a city, chances are, yeah, you may not ever see a wetland or experience a wetland. Does not mean they don't function in our ecosystem, does not mean that they don't contribute to our overall well-being. And folks have to have just a better understanding of how the world functions, how society functions. And as much as we focus on the economy, it's important to also focus on the ecology, because they are part and parcel.
And again, listening to Katya Wanish in this great interview you did, you start to understand the implications to all Wisconsinites on these arbitrary cuts being made in Washington right now by Musk and Trump, that this is going to affect us in Wisconsin in rippling effects. And that's not being talked about right now by a lot of folks.
It's not being talked about. And I want to get this talked about. I want to make sure people are truly understanding what's at stake, because there's so much noise right now, and people are being overloaded with information. Some people have, some very, unfortunate theories of the case. I'll put it that way. Where they say, well, isn't there, a lot of waste in government? Sure, of course, there's waste in government. Do you know how high oil subsidies got last year? Do you know how much the wealthiest people in this country have been able to skip out on paying taxes, fronted by middle class and working class individuals in this country? There is certainly waste, there's certainly fraud, there's certainly abuse, but firing somebody who is part of wetlands protection, somebody who's part of our National Park Service, somebody who is part of the Social Security Administration, somebody who's a part of the Treasury, like all these departments that make us function and make us whole as a society, that's not what's going to save the money. That's not what's going to get it done. And Donald Trump taking these $18 million golf trips, that's how much it costs to keep him protected on a golf trip. If he's very serious about it, if he's dedicated to the cause of saving people money, he certainly wouldn't be wasting it and committing fraud and abusing the system as he is.
Lieutenant Governor, can you stay with us just about 5 more minutes?
For sure.
All right, sounds good. Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes is going to stay with us. We'll continue to talk about this important issue, what federal cuts mean to Wisconsinites all across the state, and maybe we'll even ask him what's worse. Stay with us. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. We do this goofy segment. We just did it right before you came on, of what's worse every day. We pick some goofy thing to be lighter. So today's what's worse is bumper stickers or screamy social media posts. What's worse?
Virtual or in-person meetings too. Find your pot of gold when selling with the Aaron Weber Group, powered by Compass.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. Folks, we've got to talk about Derek Van Orden, second-term congressman representing Wisconsin.
Here's our very own Dan Schaefer now.
Dodging public meetings and making all kinds of unhinged comments. As many scramble and struggle.
He text you or something?
No, just online. I can hear him in my ear.
Here in Wisconsin, Van Orden has been as frustrating and disrespectful as ever. In one instance, Van Orden took to social media to berate a veteran who had been fired from his job at the VA by Elon Musk.
All right, here's the bonus round for those watching on the stream.
And the veteran in question is simply someone who was just reaching out to his congressman, looking for answers.
Will Rebecca Cook be the only person in the 3rd Congressional District, or will there be others? I'm not asking you to name names.
Made some especially wild accusations about people who have been attending.
Yeah, but
there are others. She's not gonna get a free pass.
Oh, all right, very good. See, this is why people watch the secret show during between commercials on the stream. So do you think there will be?
I mean, I know like Emily Burgey just announced that she's interested in running. I just don't see her getting a free pass. A lot of the chatter was that she may have moved a little too far to the right. That's what some people in that area I've talked to have said. I'm staying out of it.
That's interesting. All right.
get involved.
See, that's a great bonus round for our streaming listeners. All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 9 before the hour of 2 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC or CBS News, depending upon which of our great stations you're listening to all across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network, followed by a check of weather on this pleasant Tuesday, a check of sports by our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens, talking about some trades happening in the Packerland. Thought maybe we'd get Devontae Adams, but no. Not so much. Mike Clemens will update us. And then after that, at 2 until 4, Maggie Dawn and the Maggie Dawn Show, followed by Dom Selvia and the Dom Selvia Show, and Pete Schwaba and the Pete Schwaba. No, it's not the Pete Schwaba. It's Nightlight. Nightlight with Pete Schwaba from 6 until 8. Right now, we are pleased to have Wisconsin's former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes with us. He is talking about his new project here in conjunction with the Recombobulation Area and Civic Media's own Dan Schaefer, talking to folks like Katnia Wanish on this latest podcast, which you can see or hear, both see it here at civicmedia.us and the Recombobulation Area.news. Lieutenant Governor talking to Katnia Wanish, who had worked as a wetlands engineer at the National Resource Conservation Service, and she had been with, was it Bureau of Indian Affairs prior to that, and had, for lack of a better term, to put it in Todd terms, tenure. And then she says, no, I'm going to go help folks and do my job, even, to help a larger sense in the National Resources Conservation Service. And because she'd been there less than a year, now the Musk-Trump folks come in and say, and they're cutting with a chainsaw, pun intended, and not a scalpel. And they say, forget about it, you're gone. And now here's this dedicated worker for Wisconsin wetlands just arbitrarily gone. And talk about, again, specifically, if you can, based on this interview, what effect is that going to have potentially on Wisconsin wetlands?
So I'll say you're supposed to measure twice, cut once. And this is something that they have failed to do. There's certainly no craftsman over here at the Elon Musk committee. And very little, if any effort at all, it seems to have gone into what the impacts of these cuts will be. So there is not a person to manage wetlands. Think about the environmental degradation that stands to be done. And you mentioned water quality on the front end. I generally think people are concerned with their quality of water, regardless what their political party is. You also mentioned, duck hunters. We have to think about who is going to manage these types of systems, because local governments are strapped for cash. The amount of support from the federal government is absolutely going to decline. So if there aren't people from the feds who are coming in who can provide the necessary resources and support to keep our wetlands healthy and thriving, you got to imagine the catastrophic downstream, no pun intended, impacts of all this.
Talk a little bit about, you've seen this again firsthand, spending 4 years as Wisconsin's lieutenant governor, overseeing all parts of the state, along with Tony Evers. And we see this at Department of Natural Resources, working with USDA and our Wisconsin farmers. Talk about just the impact, the partnership that Wisconsin does have with some of these agencies and the importance of maintaining that relationship.
So I'll say, having the relationships between state agencies and federal agencies is what leads to thriving communities. Now, it had been a long time. Like I said, when we first got in office, we assumed very little help from the federal government. We got very little help from the federal government. Things changed once the new administration came in and understood the importance of government functioning properly. And so if you have your Medicaid services at the state level that is getting ever-changing information from the Department of Health Services at the federal level, then this leaves a lot of people in limbo. If we have our Department of Revenue and then you have the IRS and the IRS is understaffed and unable to properly coordinate with the Department of Revenue, then we're going to have trouble when it comes time to, during tax season. So these are just a couple different ways. And look at other, state administered, services, whether it's the VA at the federal level or Department of Veteran Affairs at the state level. We don't have a coordinated impact. Think about the number of our former service members that are going to see a decline in quality of life because they can't get the care that they deserve. They can't get the psychiatric or psychological treatment that they need to be productive members of society. Think about if they have to go without those meetings, without the type of service or even the proper medication, they are going to see problems that I don't even want to imagine or think about.
Well, you're doing great work. I hope everybody checks it out. Recombobulationarea.news or civicmedia.us. It's entitled Pawn in a Billionaire's Game. A federal worker shares her story. Our own Dan Schaefer, along with former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, talking with Katni Awanish. And you're going to be talking more to more folks like this. I hope people follow it. A quick little bit of fun here before we let you go, Lieutenant Governor. What's worse, bumper stickers or screamy social media posts?
I'm going to go with maybe the screamy posts.
I agree with you. Because you can kind of go around the jerks that have the bad bumper stickers.
Yeah.
But the post get in your feed, and then it's like, I don't need to see
the
that.
post getting your feed, and sometimes it's somebody you know and respect, and then it's like, oh,
right?
man.
Yes, exactly right. Now here, this is on the ground news coverage from Eau Claire. My sister lives in Eau Claire. She and my brother-in-law and family were very excited last year during the marathon in Eau Claire when you ran by their house, and she said the lieutenant governor ran by my house. And so, how are you still running?
Oh, for sure.
Look at that. He gets it done. Here's you are a part of what makes Wisconsin great, Mandela Barnes. We appreciate you stopping by. Keep up the good work. You're welcome here anytime.
Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate you.
We appreciate you, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. Thanks to him. Thanks to Luke Mathers and Aaron Zommers on the board, and all of you for listening and calling in. Stay tuned. Maggie Dawn is next. Todd Allbaugh saying, whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. We'll see you tomorrow on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Banging on your drum, keep banging on, and your day will come. Keep banging on your drum, and they will hear you.
All right, thanks everybody. That was a great show. Better than yesterday, right, Zommers?
Yes.
He didn't even have to think about it. He's like, yes.
I appreciate it.
We have more people, so it was fantastic. The guests make the show good. All right, thanks.
All right, goodbye.